Welcome to TechRill. In this video, we are diving into the world of Python unit testing with GitHub Copilot. Testing is a crucial part of development, and with Copilot, you can automate and streamline the process like never before. We will explore how to write simple and complex test cases, generate data-driven test cases, handle edge conditions like exceptions and boundary conditions. By the end of this video, you will see how GitHub Copilot not only enhances the productivity but also ensures your code is robust and reliable. Let us get started and see the magic of AI-driven unit testing in action. We have a bunch of Python codes here, starting with the symbol calculator till the weather utility, referring to an external API. So let us start setting up the Python test environment with the help of Copilot. So the first step is setting up test. You have the setupTests command which will help you to set up the test properly. There are two options provided by Copilot, either unit test or PyTest. I'm going with PyTest, which provides me the details in terms of how to set up PyTest as part of these files. So I'm just applying the test. It added a test folder with test symbol. There is a hello world application testing is provided here. That's a simple testing added. Now I need to go ahead and install PyTest. That's the second step it's mentioned. You can directly insert this command into your terminal and execute it. So I have taken pip install PyTest into terminal and executing that command. The setup is completed. There is a new version of pip is available. Let me go ahead and run this command to update my pip first. This will upgrade pip to the latest version. The installation of pip is completed. Let me ensure that PyTest is installed properly. Pip installation is done. Now we need to invoke PyTest. I am using the Python 3 along with the PyTest to complete the things. Right now we have only one test case as part of test sample.py. This is the simple test case available right now. Let us go and take the help of Copilot to write test cases for this particular file, that is a calculator.py, and the command we will start with /test for automatic test generation. It's a simple test generation for calculator.py file, and Copilot came up with a set of test cases. So let me just add as part of this directory. So I'm going to create a new file for capturing my test cases for calculator, that is test calculator. I'm copying this entire test cases into this new file. We have inserted the test cases into a new file, that is testcalculator.py. Now go to the terminal and invoke the PyTest to execute all the test cases. As you can observe that it's executed 7 test cases, all passed as of now. 6 will be from this one and 1 is our sample test case. Let us move to the next Python class where we have a little more complex scenarios including multiple for loop and if conditions kind of thing. Let us see how we can generate test cases for this particular one. Either you can go and use the /test or you can specify using prompt. This case again I am using the /test. It's generated the test cases Based on all these things, let us add this as part of the new test file. Let me just add it as test underscores math utils.py. This is the test one, and let me just take it into the new class. The generate Fibonacci is also part of the math util, so I can add that here and remove this one liner from the test file. That's a modification I am doing right now. And let us go ahead and run the test cases using PyTest. You can see that 10 of the test cases are passed. Now let us look at a more data-driven approach. When you want to test it multiple things, you may need a data-driven approach. In this case, a simple function called isPrime. I'm looking at a data-driven approach here. So instead of using /test, I will be asking Copilot through a prompt like generate data-driven test cases for my functions. So this is what I am asking Copilot to generate a data-driven test cases for this particular one. As you can observe that it's added the different combinations of data, that's the input and expected value, as part of the test case, and there is only one test case, but it's get executed for all these combinations. Let us add this again as part of a new test class, test underscore number utils.py, and copy pasting this from here to here, and it's supposed to change to 11 test cases now, but instead of that it's went to 40 due to the fact that this particular test is tested with all these data points. Some of them are prime numbers, some are not. So it's covered true and false scenarios properly as part of a data-driven test case. In case there is an exception scenario, it gets added that exception scenario as part of the test case itself. Now we used a simple test generation. We tested the conditions and the looping scenarios. Now the data-driven test case is also addressed here. Let us go for exception handling angle. So one of this application may have some of the exceptions. Maybe in the calculator itself we have an exception scenario. Divide is raising a value error. So whether it's tested this or not, let me just open the division function. You can see that Copilot is generated a value error test case as well. In case it's divide by 0, value error. So any exception scenario will be handled here properly. Similarly, in case of a files and all, lot of exception. Even though the program is not captured the exception, we may need to test it whether the file exists. If it is not exist, how to do it. So let us see how Copilot is going to generate test case for this particular one. Even here also I am going for a prompt based approach to enforce generate test cases for exception scenario also. So I am specifying my specific scenario, generate unit test cases for my function, include the handling of file not found exception and other suitable exception scenarios. Sometimes as a developer we may know one of the exception, but it may address many other exception scenarios also. So let us see how PyTest is came. Before going through this, I'm going ahead and adding it into a new file, test underscore file underscore utils.py, and take all these test cases into the new file. If I look at this one, the first one is a proper text with a proper test file, and the second is file not found. That's the exception I have asked explicitly. Non-existing file is passed, and there is a permission error. Sometimes the file you don't have a permission, then it's throw the permission error that is also handled here. So this is the test cases it's captured. Obviously you need to create this file for testing, test file for testing this one. Let me just add this test file with the value hello world. That is what the expected value for a positive test case, and going ahead and executing the test case. Here you will be able to see 43 test cases. This one is passed because we included this data, and these two are already not an existing file, and permission denied is mocked. So it's a mocking is applied here because there is no way we can get a permission denied by just adding a or giving a non-existing file. So it's a mock that option. Whenever it's open the file, mock and throw this permission denied error. So mocking is also used. We will see mocking once again in another scenario. Let us change the content of this file. We changed the data in the test file, and let us go ahead and run the test case once again. It's supposed to fail one of the test case, but it's passing. Let us see what's the reason. If you observe the test case, the way it's written is the file content is writing to the file first before it's reading using our utility function. So this writing module is not required for us to test it. So just comment that one and go ahead and execute this one. This time one of the test case will fail because the content we are expecting is hello world and our file contain a different data. Obviously here it's used to mock framework, so permission issues will pass through, and this is non-existing file, this is also passed. So this is how you can modify the test case and execute it. We went through the simple test case, a complex test case with multiple loops and conditions, data-driven test case in case of the num utilities, and now file test case with multiple exception handling. Let us move to the last one where we are doing mocking. Explicitly we are asking for mock, but obviously in the files case also Copilot used mocking framework. So I am asking Copilot to generate unit test cases using mock for external dependencies. Here, even though if I am not specifying the mock framework, Copilot will be able to understand that this URL is external and it needs to be mocked and generate the unit test cases based on that. Here it's used to mock responses and the mock data for asserting this external URL. There are multiple 3 test cases are created, one with a server error and one is not found, one is a success criteria. So Copilot covering the positive test cases, boundary conditions and exception scenarios properly as part of test case development. You can use /test for simple test case generation in case you need a little more complex test cases or you have a specific business condition should be tested. You can pass that as a prompt to Copilot and take the /setupTest for setting up the unit test framework properly based on your technology stack. Also, whenever there is an error, you can take the help of Copilot to quick fix using Copilot or explain using Copilot what will be the error. Let me just go ahead get an explanation why there is an error is highlighted here. This particular package is not installed, that's an error. I can install directly using the integrated terminal. Hope you understand how to use GitHub Copilot for Python based testing using PyTest framework. In this video, we covered how to use GitHub Copilot for Python unit testing. Try it out and share your feedback. Thank you.